We'll get started here in just a minute or two when everybody gets in. Hopefully some people are awake this morning. Knock that over. Leave it there. Let's see. Hey, Mr. Wilson, or Mr. Oh, Mike Wilson. Yes. Hi. How you doing? Top of the morning. All right. We got a couple guys in here. Good to see. Yeah. Well, I'm not. Super Bowl's not for another 8 hours about. So, I think I've got plenty of time. To be honest with you, that's why I was just kind of doing a little play on the words today because we are doing a bowl that's specific for the Super Bowl, and I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes here. I want to wait till there's a few more people in here so I'm not repeating myself, but show you a little process and something I came up with, which I am hoping works, and if it does, it's kind of a neat idea for you to use, and especially for you guys that have trouble finding wood. This might be a really good one for you, Wilson, or for others who have stray pieces of wood laying around, but not sure how to put it together. So I'll explain this in just a minute. But I think Mike is going to go live. Yeah, he did say he did tell me that he was planning to go live sometime later today. He wasn't real specific. I did ask him a couple times, so we'll see. Hey Johnny, did that idea work for you, or did that idea you're working on the other day work for you? Screw the Super Bowl? No. Well, it's also it's like just screw the Super Bowl. Remember, there is something called the Winter Olympics on too, which is being seen by about 1 billion people. So, so you got to be aware of that also. Okay. So just to be fair, it's the Super Bowl and it's the Winter Olympics and it's Spun Sunday. So, screw them too. Hey, the Italians may not like you saying that. Yeah, that spindle gouge worked, didn't it? Yeah, at least it was working a little bit faster than the carbide was. So yeah, sometimes I keep mine handy right here, and I use it for when I'm making my tenons and so forth. I don't use it for much of other things. It's kind of my go-to tool for that. And this happens to be a Glenn Lucas, which I picked up for I think $3 at a yard sale or at some sort of sale. $3 for a Glenn Lucas, not a bad deal. And I've been using it for probably 3-4 years now. You didn't know that there was an Olympics on until last night. You saw it on the news. Okay, well. Okay, so guys, I'll get started here, so we don't lose anybody here. This is what this is. This is a board that was taken from a tabletop. You know those tabletops you see laying around where they glue pieces of wood together and they make it into a tabletop. You buy it at like a Target or a Walmart or someplace. Anyway, somebody had discarded it, and so I grabbed it because that's what I do. I scoured it for wood, and sometimes they're really glued together well. Sometimes they aren't. In the process of cutting this, it's actually split off. So I worried a little bit about that. So one of my concerns is I went ahead and I put more glue over this and let it sit for a day or so in each of the seams. And you see there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of wood glued together on this. Okay. But what I was trying to figure out was how am I going to put this together so that I can make a bowl out of it, because it's only about 3/4 of an inch thick, or not a bowl, at least a platter. And I said, where would I be able to put the dip? So what I took a separate piece of wood that it was from the same piece, and by the way, this is the best circle maker you can do. You can make these at home. I happen to buy this one, but get yourself a dowel, get yourself a centerpiece like this, and something to clamp a pencil in, and just go like so, and it makes a perfect circle. Easy to take over to the bandsaw, and you can adjust it to any size. This would go up to about a 20 some odd inch bowl if I wanted to, but I can't turn a 20-inch bowl. So really simple, real cheap way to make circles, to at least line them up. So anyway, going back to this. So what I did is I took a second piece and I cut it out of that same wood, and I have glued it down with real glue, with like real glue, wood glue, and I let it sit for a day or two. And I thought, okay, well that might hold it, maybe. And then I went ahead and I glued this onto it as a normal jam check, because I didn't want to screw screws into the wood. And as I was thinking about that, I thought, there's no reason I can't screw screws in this side, because this is all going to get hollowed out later. So just on an abundance of trying to keep everything together, this has 3 screws on this side, which I will have to take out before I get to this part of the turning. And I kind of marked out approximately where I want to put where I want it to dive down in. But what's going to happen is you're going to have a bowl or a platter that's a platter like this, and then you're going to have a deep bowl on the inside to put your dip. And so this is a way of getting that when you don't have thick wood. This might be a way to to do that. So if this works out, I think it's a great idea. It's a pretty good sized turning here. This is right at just under 12 inches. Okay, it's pretty good sized turn. I got about 6 inches to 6 inches. So this is about 11 3/4 inch turn. All right. And of course we got to make a circle out of it first. So we're going to have to make sure we get this just a little bit secured. Okay. Shouldn't dumpster dive at my age. Well, I don't have to dumpster dive. They actually put it out on the streets for me. So that's kind of the nice thing about it. We have a twice a year street pickup where people can put out just about anything they want. There's a couple exceptions, like you can't have dangerous liquids or anything like that out there. But they put out, you can put out refrigerators. You can put out maybe the Christmas tree you forgot to get rid of 6 months earlier. But they do it every 6 months. So the next one's coming up in March. And they do different sections of the city at different times. So it goes on for like a month. So we drive around different neighborhoods at different times and find things that we need, that we could use, like discarded wood and so forth, and we turn them into bowls and so forth. They make great bowls. So, it's another way to find wood without having to go cut the tree down, right? All right, let me get my mask on. Do hit the like button and subscribe if you would, please. That would be very helpful. And cross your fingers that this doesn't split out and blow up on me. Because if it doesn't, we can maybe make something kind of cool today. So I'm hoping we can. Make sure I got a good picture here for you. There we go. Before I go on. There we go. You don't need to be looking at me. You just need to be looking at what I'm doing. And yes, I'm wearing a mask. not just for my protection, but also because of the respiratory part. It does filter the air, and it means you don't have to be looking at me. You can be looking at what I'm doing. So it kind of serves multiple purposes. And I'm just taking it real easy right now because I just want to get a feel for the wood. It is a little bit out of whack here, so I'm going to have to work with that. It doesn't. I think the wood warped just slightly over time, so it has a little bit of a warp to it. But I think we can work with that. A little bit off center here, so I'm going to a little bit off of a round still, so I'll work with that. Since this is going to be the bottom, we can kind of curve in a little bit. And of course, by standing here, this takes me out of direct confrontation with the wood, in case it was to explode on me. Okay, so I think we got pretty much around all the way around. Now I can start working on this. Yeah. Don't want it to chip. That's what I don't want it to do, chip. This wood is a generally somewhat hard wood. It's almost like white oak. It turns really good. Generally speaking, most of those tabletops do. They're hard enough to take a simple cutting board type situation, but they will show cuts like any wood board would. You can probably see on here, there's little cuts on here from whatever people were doing with this board before. But it is strong enough to take the turning pretty well without chipping out or anything. I'm going to form this back side just a bit with a skew, just to get a little bit more of a refined cut on it. And of course, I'll be able to go back and use a sander later too. Like I said, it's not perfectly flat. So, okay, yeah, that's got a nice. Okay, I'll be able to sand that on the back side later on, and that's what we wanted. We wanted a round tray. Okay. Now the next step is to kind of come in here and start establishing the cut in. And this is going to be a relatively thin bowl when we're done here. What do we got? Oh, hi, Dan. Hey, Tim. Welcome in. Thank you all for being here. And okay, let's see what we can do now. This is, like I said, this is only 3/4 of an inch thick, so there's not a lot to work with here. I'm going to have to come pretty far in. I don't want to dispose any weak spots in the gluing process that was done at the manufacturer. So slow process. I don't want to push it. Let the tool do the work. When I get to where I see those lines, I'll stop. Put out. And there we are. Okay. Wow. Really fine stuff. Hi, friend from down the street. Hi, Alex. Are you the one that lives very close to me here? Is that the Alex I'm talking to here? Okay, so that was first turn. We got about the 16th of an inch or so, maybe a little more. Just to kind of wind things out a little bit. And I want to kind of establish some depth. Here. When you're working with 3/4 inch wood, you don't have a whole lot to work with. It's like a very, very large pen blank. If you can think of it that way. Take some of that off of me. Oh, it's getting hot from the friction. Okay. Kind of coming at it from 2 different angles here. Seems to be a little bit harder wood right in there somewhere. Not sure. At any rate, so that's where we're coming here. So far, so good, right? Lots of curls. Let's see, where am I at on my curve? With the right turn, 3/4 of an inch wood actually turns into a pretty good sized platter. So I can't kind of watch the slope. I think I was cutting a little too deep there, so too much at one time, so I wanted to kind of back off on that. Take shallower cuts. There we go. That's it. You want to have controlled cuts. Go through this. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. We are about halfway through this. I don't want to go, obviously, I don't want to go all the way through it. So I'm going to have to find the sweet spot. And then what we're going to do is we will take these screws out and we will start working on dropping this down into the inside from about here. So let me use my scraper here. See if I can get a little traction with it. I'm not sure if I can. I can't get in the corner there, so I have to use a smaller one. Get down in here. Let's see. This could be a good use for a carbide. And carbide is a scraper too. I think I got the. Okay, let's see how that's starting to look. That's looking a lot smoother. Got a few tool marks we got to get out of there still. I think just a tiny bit more depth out of that. Perhaps the negative rate scraper will have more effect on that. I'm not sure. Tool of choice, right? See how that did. Oh yeah, that's much better. That can be sanded down from there just about. Need to get a little bit of that cleaned out. What do you think so far, guys? This is the now. Usually, I'll make platters out of like walnut or oak or something like this. But if we can learn to make platters out of basically throwaway tabletops, I think this would be a good thing for all of us because it doesn't cost much to get stuff. In fact, it's like I said, it's usually free. You can pick it up relatively easily. People discarding them all the time for trash and all. So, or even better if it's one that got broken. You know, so it's two broken pieces. Ooh, don't want to get into the screws there, so a little close. All right, so I got a nice little slope there. This looks good. This is clean, and I'm still solid there. Let me see. I just want to see how thick, what my thickness is there, real quick. Okay, so my thickness is about this. So I can go a little thinner, but I don't want to go too much thinner because you want to keep the integrity of the wood. So it's all a matter. And if you're using a platter, how deep does a platter need to be too? So to the rest of you on there, sorry I've been missing some of the comments, but thanks for being here. And please do hit the like button if you would. I know most of you are subscribed, but if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel too. But this is going to be our little bowl that we can use for Super Bowl parties and other things, or for Olympic event parties for that matter. We can call it that. For those of you that didn't know, there is an Olympics on. Straighten that out just a little bit. That edge a little straighter. It's a little bit off here. Yeah, it's getting there. I want to make sure everything's flat, but I said it was a tiny bit warped. Okay, that should be good. That's smooth enough. Okay, we got this. Next step, I think, is to take these screws out so we can work on the inside. So let's see what we can do here. This will be the challenging part, really. I just wanted to make sure it stayed on and we didn't put too much pressure on that glue chuck that I had on here to begin with. And hopefully that other part stayed on there nice and tight all this time too. So this will be the telltale, I guess you want to call it that. Put my implements of destruction back in there for a minute. I think I'm still sharp. We'll see. If not, I'll have to maybe sharpen up just a little bit. Okay, a little bit off. That's where the holes are. I might need to lower my tool rest just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to have to lower the tool rest just a little. Come back in here. Pretty hard wood. It doesn't just want to break off, which is good. You want that in a tabletop, and you want that in a turning too. Why I think that tabletops make a real good turning option. So this is going to be the dip or condiment holder or whatever you want to put in the center, really. But it's nice to have options when you're making a bowl or a platter to have, vegetables on the outside and a little dip on the middle, something like that. Okay, I want to take a look at things, see if I'm getting anything. Okay, that looks pretty good. Of course, you still have the drill holes here, but we'll get through those eventually. I am probably going to have to sharpen up here in just a minute. 214 people in here and 36 likes. Yeah, I know that. That's kind of the make of things sometimes. I appreciate you saying that, Michael. People, if you're enjoying this or if you're going to learn something from this, I'd appreciate a like. It's, no one's forcing you to do it. You certainly don't have to do it. And if you dislike it, feel free to tell me that you dislike this entirely too. But if you dislike me repurposing something that was going to go to the trash can, at least get on the comments and tell us why you think it's bad that I'm doing that. Okay? Uh, Maybe your perspective is something we hadn't considered. I know this is aggressive. I know that was an aggressive cut there, but I was trying to test it a little bit and see how we're doing. I think I'm going to need to sharpen up here. This has been going through this wood pretty hard so far. We're about to get, I'd say we're pretty close to getting down into the secondary wood that I put underneath it. And that's where it's going to be interesting. So give me 30 seconds or so to get this sharpened up. I noticed the other day this hurricane of mine is getting a little bit short, and I might need to get a new one. I've used this for probably 200 bowls at this point, so you know it's done a good job. The steel has been very very strong. It fits well in my hand, and I had the angle set just the way I really like it for most of the turnings I do. Everybody has their own grind that they like to put on their tool. I'm no different. I'm going to hand turn. I'm hand creating a second angle on the bottom here, bevel on the bottom. Okay. And I'll show this to you. I do roughly a 50-degree grind. That's a secondary grind right there, so that when I'm going in, I don't know if you can see on the profile. So when I'm going in, it gets here, and then when it gets to the bottom, it can turn in because I got that secondary angle grind on there. Yeah. But I also use an asymmetrical grind. If you look at this, you'll see that this side is higher than this side. And so that's when I'm in here and I'm scraping with this side, that works. If I want to scrape with the other side, I have a different grind on the other side for that. So it's a very utilitarian tool. I can get a lot of different things out of it. And like I said, you can come in here like so. And because I have that secondary bevel, I can ease it in to the bottom like so. And continue that cut. Now at this point, we're probably going to have to move to a different tool anyways, but I'm just trying to get to the part where we get through to the second layer of wood. And, one thing I have to be aware of is when I glue that second piece onto the back here, and then I'm cutting into this, I'm removing a lot of what was holding this other piece of wood on. A lot of the glue that's here is going to be all gone, and the only glue that's going to be holding this is the glue that's on the outside of that, or the outer rim. So when I glued this on, I made sure I had a lot of glue on the outer rim to hold, because all of this hold is going to be gone, if that makes sense to you. Let's see, somebody was writing here. Let's see if I can read it. Wilson said, ordered the helical plane 3 weeks ago. Took them a week to respond to my email asking where. It was after 5 days, which they said it would take to be delivered, and to tell me that it was out of stock. That's great. Seems to be the problem with everything being sent to your part of the world. I don't know what it is. Due to arrive Tuesday, and that'll be 3.5 weeks since the order. Well, hey, that's still about in line with my Laguna um, uh, parts that I had to wait for. It was out of stock when you ordered, but nobody told you. Yeah, I know that's one of the supply chain issues where they don't bother to notify the website that they're out. Oh, speaking of which, One Way got a hold of me, and they're sending. I should be getting my new One Way um, banjo in the next couple of days. So hopefully by Thursday, when I'm doing a live, I'll be showing you my new One Way banjo on my lathe. That's kind of cool. I'm kind of excited for that. And $270 later, by the way. Plus the 200 and something I paid for this Laguna one. So actually, the breaking of my banjo cost me over $500. But now I'm going to have two of them. And so I won't have to worry about that again. I think we are into the second wood. Now, here's something tick, tick, ticking. I want to make sure I'm not hitting anything. Okay. That looks a little bit suspicious, that split in the wood right here, but it's not split in the wood, it's where two pieces are glued together. I'm just a little suspicious of that. Still need to square this off a little bit too. It has a little bit of a tool mark on it. It's been bothering me. We'll curl that down. Make that a little prettier. Okay, so now see we are in the second wood because you can see the glue. You can see the glue here. So this is the second piece. I'm sorry. This is the second piece of wood right there. So we are into the bottom piece of wood. We have achieved wholeness. I'm going to turn this other light on. There we go. Get a little better light on the subject. And we don't want it to curl in too much too early. We want it to get down into the other bowl. We have to get past the screw holes that I drilled in there. Okay. So now we've cleaned that out. Still got a ways to go to get to the screw holes, but a little bit of the glue you can see, but not much right here. So I think we're okay on that. So working on a new video. Great. Oh, hey, Ryan, how you doing? Didn't see you come in there. So this is a chip and dip platter, but made from a different idea. Instead of having two boards that were the same thickness all the way around, I started with a 3/4 inch board, attached another board underneath, using some different techniques, and now this is how it's going to hold the dip in the center. and then while you have your chips or your veggies or whatever on the outside. So so far it's held together. Keep your fingers crossed, guys. We're coming down the home stretch. So maybe while you're watching your favorite curling team this winter on the Olympics, or Jamaican bobsledding or something, you could put one of these together and use it to have some snacks while you're watching the game. We're just about got past. When I get past that last little screw hole, I will stop because I think that's going to be deep enough, and we'll go back to kind of refining everything, and we'll be done. So far my idea seems to be working. I don't want to say anything too soon. I don't want to speak too soon, but we are now about halfway down into that secondary piece of wood, and I really don't want to go too much further in that. So I think at this point, what we'll do is we'll scrape this out a little bit. What do you think?
That's really cool.
Yeah. My wife is here. She says hi. Get those pencil marks off.
Yeah. I'm gonna my birthday.
Oh, okay. One of the New Year's resolutions was to get out on the bike some more. Bicycle, I should say. So, trying to keep that commitment. It's just not working for me, huh? Since who can feel his lefty there? When I scrape it. There we go. I think that's going to be just about right. Okay. Everything else can be sanded out from there. So far success. So far success, guys. And please, if you are watching, if you did hit that like button, I would appreciate it. Or double tap your screen since most of you are watching on a screen of some sort. Except you can't double tap your TV. That's the only thing you can't do. Well, that's finishing off real nice. Guess I should get this on. We'll be collecting the dust this way, right? Let me try and reverse. We'll show you what this looks like here after we put a little beeswax on it, or a little wax on it. Obviously, this will need a little more buffing out on the back side. Pick up the speed a little bit. And hear this thing. One more finish on that. Okay. Now that was on a heavy coat, a heavy grit. We're going to go to a much lighter grit now. Okay. Sorry I'm not talking to you guys at the moment, but kind of wanted to concentrate on my sanding there. Oh, this is so smooth feeling. So smooth feeling. Okay. I'm going to get in there with just a little bit of sandpaper by hand. This is like 800 grit. I'm just kind of working on that edge right there a little bit, trying to soften that up just a little bit. Let's work on this edge. Just a little bit. Okay. Don't want to lose all my fans here watching me sand. I know people don't like to watch sanding. Okay. Let me vacuum this off just a little bit, and vacuum up some of the dust and stuff around it. Okay. So I believe that's a lot of material that came off of this for such a small, for such a thin cut, I should say. Pick up some of this, put it on the trash can. Okay. And once we get this all cleaned off here, we're going to put the finish on it. We're not going to use tung oil this time. We're just going to use a wax finish because this is a dried and treated wood. Well, not treated. Well, I should say probably was treated at some point. But if we're going to be using it for food, I want to make sure that it's food safe. So we're gonna put a wax finish to it and leave it at that. Okay, so let me get this out of the way, the test out of the way, and the secondary wood on the back is the same as this. It was a 3/4 inch piece of the same board. The board was about this big, and I cut the circle out on the bandsaw, and then I had the leftover piece, and I cut the other circle out. And I'll show that to you in just a. Well, I can show it to you now. Actually, I can take it off and show it to you, but then I'm going to put it back on. This, ignore this. This is just a glue chuck, but the actual piece that I put on here is here. I reinforced it with a little bit of hot glue, which I'll be able to take off in post production. Basically, I'll be able to take that off by using a heat gun, and the heat gun will loosen this, and I'll be able to use a chisel or some device to scrape all that off and sand it, and it'll be fine. But this piece of wood was the same as this original piece of wood here. Okay, so I got that. This is coming off. This will just pry off, and I'll actually show you that part. I think I can do that while we're on screen here. So this took less than an hour, and now we've got a really nice platter. I want to make sure this is there we go. Good way. And let's see. I think I'm going to apply a little bit of just yeah, little Howard's feed wax for now. And I need a towel for this. Probably get a cleaner towel because that one's. Don't want to use a dirty towel from my black walnut I used the other day. I'm still cleaning up black walnut dust from things. That was a dusty project. Okay. All this is going to do is just kind of bring out the richness of that wood a little bit. Doesn't really darken it so much as it's just that's kind of what the look of wet wood is right now. Okay, so I think that's going to be a nice piece when we're all done here. All right, let me get the outside of the bowl here. Platter. I keep calling it a bowl. It's really a platter. And of course, the backside is going to get sanded some more, so I'm not too worried about putting finish on the backside. All right, let's turn this up. Running at about 1,000 RPM right now. A little over. And you get the general idea what it's going to look like. And I'm happy this all held well, because it was kind of yeah, it's a platter with a bowl. There you go. That's a good answer, Dan. A bowly platter, a platter with a bowl. And now, when I've done these in the past, what I had was two boards that were the same thickness. I put them together, and then I would scour in, and this would be raised, and the bowl would be up here. In this case, the bowl is going to be underneath, and that's going to be part of the pedestal bottom to it. So instead of having a just flat bottom, it's going to be a pedestal bottom. So this is what it's going to look like. Of course, it's going to need time to dry and so forth, but it's got a really nice finish to it. Okay. So let me take the back off, or take this off here, and we'll show you what this looks like when we remove things. So let me do something a little bit off screen here for a second. And okay, there and there. All right. So I'm gonna go get my heat gun, and I will be back in about 15 seconds here. So let me get the heat gun real quick. And one of my chisels and something to hit it with. There we go. This is an imperfect science at best. Okay. I'll try and get you in here a little bit closer on the process. So if you don't have one of these retractable plugs in the ceiling of your shop, highly recommend them. You can see what I'm talking about here. Okay. Those things are so handy. Reaches every. Not only does it reach in the shop, it's got 25 feet. I can take it outside and use it. Okay, so I'm gonna start blowing the hot air on this glue all the way around, and it will start to liquefy. And this is from a glue gun. The glue is from just using a simple glue gun. I use a good quality glue. I don't buy it at Dollar Tree or someplace like that. I use a good quality hot glue because you want it to hold. And it's going to take it a few seconds to start bubbling. I see it's the glue starting to loosen already. And I'll kind of pick my spot here. Because you want it loosened all around, but you kind of want to have one spot that you attack from. So let's try this. Let's see if it's ready to go. I don't know if it is, but we'll see. Okay. Keep the flat side on the bottom, and off it comes. Okay. And it looks like mostly what was holding was not the glue that I put on here, but the glue I put on the edge. Just as a fair, comment. And then what you do, is, of course, is as you heat this up, you take this off. I'm going to have to heat it up some more. That's basically the whole process, and that's what was holding this on. And I'll shape this out just a little bit more. I did round the piece of wood, but it'd be nice to have it shaped a little bit too. I can do that with the sanding process. Ooh, don't do that. Clean this. You do have to clean this stuff off your chisel, though. And this is a chisel that I don't use for other things, but it is very, very sharp. You can cut paper with this chisel. So it's not a badly done. It's not being badly treated. It is going to be badly covered with glue for a while until I get it cleaned off. But that can be cleaned off too. Just as I'm cleaning it off of here. You see that's all coming off. pretty quickly. And that's really all there is to this process. Using a glue chuck with a faceplate, and I make these all the time. I use poplar, and I just take a piece of poplar, sometimes 2 pieces of poplar, or half. This is a thin one. This is a half inch, but usually I use 3/4 inch or more. And you just attach a little cheap. I get these on Amazon for about $6-7, and you attach this on there, put it on here, and you can round it out on the lathe a little bit. It's nice. They're nice and flat. They stay flat, and I can use this for several projects before I discard it and get another piece. So it doesn't cost me much of anything. You can use it discarded piece of wood. I would not use pine. I would use a hardwood of some sort because you don't want it splintering, and that can happen. But so this is what a glue chuck looks like, and this is how you take it off. And now this is ready for sanding on the back side. But here's our bowl. And I do have a little cleanup to do right there. I don't like that edge, so I may go back and clean that up just a little bit. And honestly, I can also put a tenon on here if I wanted to, and I could put it back in there and do some more turning that way too if I wanted to. So it does give you some options. But for the most part, I think, what do you guys think? Is that a good looking project? Did we accomplish what we wanted to do? I guess is the big question. Did we accomplish what we wanted to do in the first place? So okay, all right. So there's a side view of it if you want, so you can see the side view. Put this over here if I can. There's the side view of it, and it looks a little bit like a spaceship. But when this is sanded down and rounded, it won't be a problem. It'll look a little more pretty, and of course it's going to be finished on the back, and this will be all finished and cleaned off too. And it's nice and stable. It's not going anywhere. You put stuff on here, it's going to be hard to tip it. Like I said, this will fit a dip bowl just fine. I think it worked out just as well as I expected, maybe even better. Could I have gone a little deeper? Possibly, but I wasn't. I was a little bit worried about the integrity of the wood. How good would it be? And we did go down about 2/3 of the way. We left about 1/4 of an inch of wood, and I think that's good because you're trusting 6 slats of wood to stay glued together. So I don't think you want to over pressure that. Okay. So there we go. One super bowl, super comma bowl. All right. So for a second project, and I have no idea if I can turn this or not. I have zero idea. This is redwood, and as you can see, it's very distinctively red. Get that on here. It's very obviously red. I have a little trouble with my charger here on my phone. There we go. It is very obviously red. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to turn this. So usually the redwood is in, this is the sapwood on the outside. The redwood is the harder wood on the inside. And I'm kind of turning this backwards. I'm making this the bottom and the tenon on the soft side, which may not hold a tenon. Very possible. This is very easily torn out. We'll find out. And if that's the case, I'll have to switch to maybe doing a glue up again, like I've done before on this type. And we're going to end up going through the harder wood on the top as our top wood. And there are a couple of knots and so forth in here. So it's kind of backwards. So you're going to end up with sort of redwood on the top and white wood on the bottom of it. And that's a little bit different than you normally turn a piece of redwood. But that's the fun, right? What fun is there in doing just the ordinary when you can do something weird and different? So I'm going to do weird and different. And it'll probably end up being a big disaster, but you're here to share it with me. We'll have a shared bad experience. Except the difference is you're safe where you are, and I'm not. So I'm doing the daredevil part for you. Get some of this stuff out of my way. Put my skew back in its spot. Okay. Get the drills out of the way. All right. Let's see what kind of damage we can do to this. Oh, I shouldn't have it going at 1,000 right now, probably. But at least until I get this squared away a little bit. And okay, we took off the biggest chunks there. Yes, it will be a challenge. You're absolutely right. Okay. As you can see, it does tear out even with a sharp blade. That's not a good sign for a tenon. Probably ticking off more than I needed to at one time there, so I'm just doing a couple scrapes. There we go. Now we come in here. Yeah, it's still got that little wake here, but I think I'll be able to fix that. Trying to get down to where I'm at a pretty level area. Then I got to move the tool rest a little. Okay. All right, now we got to get to the rounding part here before I get any more done. All right, there we go. Whoa, that was a big chunk. Yeah. Hey, that was the first round. Boy, look at all this tear out. That's the chunk that came out. We'll have to include that into our turn here a little bit. Okay. Boy, let's look at that. That is some pretty rough wood. So how do we deal with this? I gotta take off. See, I gotta take off for a while. Second the job, Jeff. Let's see how the next one goes. Okay, thanks for being in here, Dan. And yeah, I appreciate that. And for the rest of you, please do hit that like button and subscribe if you can. I think we got about 71. Let's get to 100 likes at least, okay? If we can on this. Um, quite honestly, I'm not even sure I like this right now, but we'll see. I'll be able to smooth this out. It's a matter of a little bit of work, but we will get it smoothed out. A scraping cut there. You know that did. That took some of the roughness off right there, just doing a scraping cut. Well, we are relatively round. And I say relatively, still a little bit off, but I think it's something we can work with now. You know that works. It's still just, boy, that is just really, really bad. Man, that is horrible wood. But I'm determined to give this a try, and if I don't, at least you guys can watch me. We can watch together how not to turn something like this. Okay, so we'll attack this junk together. Got a little repair here in just a second, if you don't mind. Okay, try that. Trying to charge my phone while I'm doing this, and the charger keeps coming out of the little slot, so I'm not sure. Let's see. Well, let's switch to my SKU. Anything can do it, the skew can do it, right? If you can't get smoothness out of the skew, I don't have a whole lot of hope for the rest of it. It's a little smoother, but just look at all those divots. It's just divoting out. Let's see how the skew did. Well, skew tamed it down a little bit, but boy, it just really doesn't want to tame. Okay. That is just like sponge. that's what I would call this. It's like drilling into a sponge or going into a sponge, and I'm not sure we can even do anything with this, but using a different skew here. Well, it's getting better. It's getting a little better. Not much. It's getting a little bit better. If I can make a flat surface, I think what we can do is just do a glue on here. That's the best we can do. Yeah. Boy, it's just horrible. And I'm not even sure this is worth doing as a mold, to be honest with you. This is more of an experiment than anything else. But I don't give a. Okay. So we got that relatively flattened out. I'm going to try and use my bowl nose over here to kind of smooth this out a little bit if I can. And then very lightly, that's why you don't see much coming off. So I'm trying not to chip it out if I can help it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this with a sander, see if I can knock it with a probably a heavy grit. Oh, that was a pretty big piece that came flying off at me. but we managed to take care of most of that here. Um, so I'm going to see if I can, maybe with some heavy grit, knock some of this down. It's not going to knock it all down, but at least we can have something to work with. Better turn this on. Separate some of this. Still just a little bit bouncing on the outside here. I'm not quite sure why. That thing's going to be perfect, so this is going to take down some of it. Screw it over a little bit. I know this is boring, but it's kind of the work you have to do to make it whole. So we'll do it together and see if I can muffle this thing out. It's kind of no longer a challenge. What's now it's a fight. And I don't like to lose fights, so me versus the wood. I'm okay with it having a rough exterior. I just want it to look like it's a porous nightmare. So I think we've come to an understanding in the wood, at least on the initial part there. I'm going to go up another grit just to make it a little smoother. And guys, if you're watching, please do subscribe or hit the like button or double tap the screen. I realize this isn't the most entertaining part. I get that. But it is the essential part of preparing a wood for finishing. It is something we all have to do. Okay, so I did it in reverse. Oh, it feels a lot nicer than it did. So that's a good thing. I'm just going to sand this, sand this, sand this a little bit more. I want to make this as flat as I can on the bottom side here, because we're going to do a glue up to this. I want it to fit but come off later. So. Okay. We now have that established. Okay. It is much better than it looked like a while ago. Much better. Big improvement. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to put on it right now. What we're going to do is we're going to take this off. Let's sit there for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get my glue gun. And I'm going to blow the crap out of you for about the next 10 minutes. So if you want to go get something to drink, stay connected. Go get something to drink, come back, use the restroom, whatever you want to do. Don't leave the channel. And if you don't want to see this part, I think it's kind of fascinating to do. But if you don't want to see this part, that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to take this little glue gun and we're going to glue a flat chuck to it. This should work. Well, let me see. I might have one that's just exactly the size. No, it's a little big. You want to be as centered as we can because we're going to be changing the center of the outside of the bowl too when we do this. So that looks about right. Okay. And what I'm going to do while this is warming up, I'm going to put a couple X's in here because you want the glue I should say, to get into the wood. Now again, I do not know if this is gold. We do not have any guarantees of that. We just experience saying that, generally speaking, it does. But wood can split or splinter. You saw that big chunk that came off earlier. Right? And it's going to be a couple minutes before this glue is out. So, meanwhile, I can catch up on some of the conversations here while we're waiting for that. So, what is everybody else? I see there's like 46 people in here at the moment, but where are you watching? I'm kind of curious. Are you watching from the U.S.? And has anybody got a prediction for the Super Bowl? Just kind of curious on that. I'm saying probably Seattle. I hope it doesn't lose me subscribers, but I'm going to say Seattle. Anybody else? No? There's not a single in here that's going to communicate at the moment. Okay. North Carolina. Are you warming up? I know we got friends in North Carolina and Virginia, and they've been suffering. There's one, Seahawks. Okay. Do you have a prediction on the score? I'm saying 31-17. But that's mostly because I have those numbers in a pool. So I'd say 31-17 Seahawks. Okay, we're starting to get glue. We're starting to get hot here. We should be able to put this on in a minute. Iceland. All right. I imagine you're in the middle of your winter still. Cold and snow on the ground. Yeah, well, I wish we had some of the rain. You guys, we have not been getting rain for like 8 weeks now. 27-24. That's a tight one. I wouldn't mind having a nice tight Super Bowl game to watch because they've been so freaking boring of the a lot of them. So yeah, if we can get a 27-24 and it's going down to the last minute with a field goal, I'd be all for that. I would. Okay, now I got to get this on pretty quick because the glue will dry or pull off, I should say, while I'm putting it on. You got to make sure you're as much centered as you can, and that is already glued on. Now what I'm going to do with the rest is I'm going to seal the outside. Okay. And I probably have to do this a couple times, but I like to put a good seal on the outside. It does help hold the wood down, especially in the twisting part. Remember, there's a lot of torque and twisting on this wood as it is turning. And it looks like I got a little bit off center. Well, we'll see. I'm probably going to have to fix the outside again a little bit, but that goes with the territory. I bothered to refinish the wood at this point, because it was going to do that. Okay, so let's see. You can see what I'm doing here. Very slowly going around, making sure I don't have any gaps in there, because gaps is where it comes apart. You don't want it overly thick, but you want it in there. You want it holding this down. And see, here's an example of what I was talking about with a gap. Right there, a gap formed. My second stick in here. Okay. And so I want to make sure that I get to that gap, fill in the holes there a little bit. Oops. I use that to push it down in a little. Sorry, I keep losing the next stick. I use these really long ones, and so they are not the most stable at the back end. They tend to fall off a little. Okay, and some more gap right here. We're going to fix that. Get down in there. Kind of like injection. You want to kind of inject it into those little gaps. Kind of force it down into the wood a little. And now we've been around twice. That should be good for everything. Okay. Just double checking myself. Okay. I'm going to let that set for a second. I will unplug myself. We don't need the glue stick anymore, I hope. That's really the whole process of using a glue gun. You can buy these for like $20 or so. Don't get a cheap one because you will regret it. Get one that actually works, and that will be helpful. Go ahead and spend the extra $5 to get a name brand. Don't get the Dollar Tree one for whatever. Okay. So now I got to take this side off. That's what we had on here. So while that glue is setting, we'll take this faceplate off. All right. And you'll be able to see what I'm going to be turning on the end into a bowl here in a few moments. And we do have some issues. We have this knot right here, which already has a chip out of it. And we could have a knot that goes flying if we're not careful. So we have to be cognizant of that as we're turning. Okay. All right. So there's that faceplate off. And we can put this on. So if you've never done a glue up, you know how to do a glue up. It's still drying just a little bit, so I'm not going to force too much on it, but I just want to see how far off I'm. I'm a little bit off. So to clean up that wobble before we go any further. Okay. But it's nothing that can't be fixed. Well, hopefully. It's nothing that can't be. And to support it, I'm going to bring up my tail on this one. So that'll give it a little extra support while we're doing the outside. Right there. And that's how far off we were. If you see where this circle was, I'm off about an eighth of, probably a 32nd of an inch. And that's what causes all that wobble, is just being off a 32nd of an inch. Okay. So now being supported on both sides, this becomes more of a spindle turn. And that'll be a little bit easier to control. Hi, Bobby. Leonante, is that one? Okay, Johnny and Brainwing. Brian. I'm sorry, Brian Wing or Brainwing. Yeah, I don't like watching blowout games either, but you're already there, and there's nothing else to watch, and it's the last football game you're going to see until August, except for maybe flag football or something like that. So, this is like it's a very depressing kind of thing because you don't get to watch any more football for many months after this. All you get to do is listen to people complaining and strategizing how they're going to have much better season next year with a new guy they're going to get in the draft or something. Anyway, I digress. All right, let's return this a little bit and see if we can't. I'm going to put that down just a little. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to get that too. Careful with that. We're gonna have to fix all out again. This is still the right thing to do. But that knot problem we have right. Yeah, they're gonna have to go up a little bit in speed. All right. Got it back into round. Now we have to just get back into clean again. Maybe a few. And part of this was my fault. I didn't do a real good job of getting right in the center with that glue cut. But I've been a little bit more careful. Could have had a little bit less to clean up. But it's getting pretty much there. Okay. Clean that. I have to go left-handed, which is not my best way of doing things. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we will. I'm just gonna quickly sand that just a little bit, guys. Don't bear with me. Don't go running off. And I just want to knock off the rough edges there a little bit. Just want to kind of make it look smooth, best I can. I want to see what that knot did too. Yeah, I got past that part was broken off, but there is still that shipping there. Right, well, and we will address some of this tear out a little later. Just want to smooth off the best parts that I can for now. I always forget to do this. Let the dust collector collect it. See, that's starting to look better already. And what's funny is, see that? It makes it look like it's smooth. All that did is that laid it over and it filled it up with dust. That's all that really did. All those holes are still there. And if you put a finish on there right now, what'll happen is it'll look real muddy. It will not look like a really nice, clean finish because all you've done is basically filled in all those gaps a little bit of dust and with some of the particles running over. So in order to get it really sanded, you have to actually go back and really actually sand it. You know, for maybe half an hour or more if you really want to get a good finish on it. Heck, I've even taken power sanders to these things to try and get them sanded down. But at least for the moment for us, that will look fine. So that's all I wanted to do for now. We're going to work on the inside. So those of you who stuck around for this part, here's where it gets fun. You dropped away with wood. So the wood is this is redwood, but I'm turning redwood backwards. I'm turning it with the soft outer wood on the top and on the bottom and the redwood on the top. As you can see, this is the redwood. The redwood is more of the central part of the wood or the tree, and the white is more the sapwood. And I'm kind of turning into the harder stuff, going down to the sap, which is kind of backwards from what you usually do. And I just did it because I wanted to. So I wanted to do something different, challenge myself a little bit because this is going to be more of a challenge to turn this way. If that's a little better lighting on there for you. Okay, let's see. Let's see what damage we can do without losing this. This is a glue. I showed everybody how. Wilson also showed everybody how to do a glue up on the back. So this is a glue. There's no tenon. It's a glued on tenon. Oops, sorry. So if you want to go back, you can go back and look at that and see how it's done. Redwood tends to be a very soft wood. But there's many different kinds of redwood. There's sequoia. Now, sequoia, because they grow to be some of the largest trees in the world, and they live several thousands of years, in cases, and are actually fireproof too, to a degree. They actually survive in fires. They'll get burnt out on the inside and continue to grow. So their wood is a little bit tougher. But generally, redwood is a relatively soft wood, like most pines. And I did not give the glue chuck a long time to cure, so that we're taking a chance that glue is going to dry and harden enough to hold this through the turning process. Oh, pretty good, cool flakes, huh? Now the same problem that we have on the outside is the same problem we're going to have on the inside. And that's the tear out stuff. Generally speaking, the redwood is the red or interior wood is a little bit stronger than the exterior wood, but as you can see, it's still got a lot of tear out. I need to get this edge done here too, before I get too far along. of confetti there and getting white and red at the same time. Okay, let's see how that cleaned up. Yeah, it's cleaned up nice. We're not having too much problem with this knot, although it is cracked in 2 places, but I think we're past that. Okay, we're getting into the redwood now. I think. Hi. Want to see the other one? Right here. I think I'm going to sharpen this again. Bye. Well, at least I got a like from you. Okay. Well, at least I got a like from my wife. Now, if I can get a like for everybody that's watching, that'd be great. She's already subscribed, so I don't need to ask her to subscribe. And if any of you saw her turning her first bowl last week, she did pretty good. And she had about 48,000 people, 48,000 views on her 1 hour video. So she did pretty well. Okay, nice and sharp again. Let's go back in here. You can see what happens when you go sharp. Even if it's just a touch-up sharpening. There's a bounciness which sometimes tells me there's something in the wood here, like a crack or something. No, I don't see anything. No? Okay. So I'm just curious, because sometimes when you start getting a indication of bouncing, it means there's a crack or a knot or something in the wood. You want to be aware of those. You might have to change your angle of the gouge a little bit. And you'll notice we did not have to resort to any, in either of these turnings, we did not have to resort to using a carbide tool today. This is all done with basically with this gouge and a couple of scrapers of screws. And a little negative rake scraper to get in the corners. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of pushback to the tear out right there. That means the wood is real swirly. You know, you don't have a good straight grain right there. That's why you get that tear out sometimes, or that the wood sometimes, because it's not, the grain isn't going in one direction. Okay, so how am I keeping my wall here? Wall's starting to go in just a little, and I'm right about here. So I need to get a little bit further before I can go down in. So I gotta make sure I keep this out. I want to keep the same look. Whoa, that wasn't good. Not sure what I hit there, but something didn't like that. And, oh, there's a little crack right there. Okay, that probably is it. All right, that's okay. Nearly everything is fixable. You work at it hard enough. The problem is, a lot of things can be fixed, what it comes down to is it worth fixing? So you always have to worry about that too. It says this feels slow motion. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why it's because I'm not moving fast. This is moving fast. This is moving at about I got it about 700 RPM right now. So if it feels slow motion on your end, maybe it's because I'm not moving really fast. I'm moving very slowly. But my feed, the feed I'm looking at from my computer, the computer looks fine. So I know it's not from my camera or anything. I suppose it could be your connection, your internet connection, or whatever it is that you're using to view it. But I can assure you it's moving quickly, and I'm moving as fast as I can with it. So, okay, I'll move my hand fast just so you can see the difference. Okay. Um, okay. We are now at the part where the bowl starts to go down in a little bit. So. We're almost to where we're going to have to stop turning. Not quite there, but we're very close. Not quite there. I'll still have to bottom it out a little bit. Clean up some of the turning marks and all that. Okay, I think I got the gist of it now as far as where I want to stop. I just want to get the bottom cleaned out. So I'll use my little homemade negative rate scraper here. Mark into the bottom. And then clean that up. I might have to do that with this smaller scraper here. Let's see. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, there is a lot of tear out. We'll have to clean that out of there because there's No other way to get that out. Maybe the skew. Maybe the skew. Maybe. Let me try. Maybe the skew can clean a little of that out. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's going to do it. No, it's still got that. All right, it's cleaned out a little. Cleaned it out a little bit, but I think we're gonna have to do the rest with the sander. So, but we do have a. It did stay together. That's the good news. It stayed together, right? Hey, there you go. Yeah, make sure that you when we're done here, make sure you check out the whacking shack today. The whacking shack with Mike Walter. He's going to be doing his Sunday Fun Day, and you'll want to catch him. I think he starts at any minute now, actually. So I'm going to get done here, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike. So, Mike, if you're going on at noon, um, guys, when we're done here, just go on over to the whacking shack, check him out, have some fun with him. He does a lot of good turnings, and I don't know what he's got planned today. Maybe you can tell us, Mike, what you got planned. You're doing today. I don't know, unless he's already gone off. Or Michael, do you know what he's doing? Sometimes it's kind of sketchy. Today, I think I won the sketchy contest by taking two things that we've never done, and they both came out so far. That's pretty lucky on our part. You can see that glue, that simple glue up that I did, held. And the nice thing about that is you don't. First of all, it's very cheap to do, cheaper than a chuck. Second of all, you don't have anything to remove afterwards except the glue and a little sanding, and it's very secure. More secure in some ways than you'd get otherwise. And the other part is there's no screw holes or anything like that inside, so it's nice and clean on the bottom. So, you want to see the platter, Mike? Okay, just a second. Let me get that. Let me get the platter for you. In case you guys didn't see this earlier, what I did was I'm going to take this out of my way for a minute. Just I can put it back on later. Okay. What I did, Mike, was I took this 3/4 inch board. It's actually 6 boards glued together, but it was a tabletop. And I cut a circle. I cut another circle out of another part of it, glued this on, and made it the underneath. This still hasn't been finished on the bottom. And what this does is this is going to be the platform for it. And what it allowed me to do was to make a bowl for the dip or chips or whatever on the inside, going through both layers of wood, instead of having the two like you've seen me do before, like I mentioned to you to do before. I made this like this, so you have this platter, which came out really nice. And like I said, the underside is going to look nice when I'm done with it. Also, it's very stable; it will not move. That's why I went for the wide base on this. When I sand all this out and everything, it's going to look just as pretty as the top does. But this was one coat of feed wax and feed and wax. So this was just one coat. It's going to get another coat of feed and wax also later on. But anyway, so there's the platter, and it was a good idea. Instead of bringing it up here and having the other piece up here, I did down here, and turning only a 3/4 inch piece of wood that's actually 6 glued pieces was a little bit on the scary side, as I told you earlier. but it worked. This, by the way, is what the redwood bowl looks like now in its early stages. If you guys can stick around for a couple minutes, I will get this sanded and put a finish on it so you can at least see what does it look like when it's finished. Because it is a redwood is a spectacular wood once it has a finish on it. But I do need to kind of get this knocked down a little bit first before I do it. I just want to see as nice of a sanding on here as I can. I know this isn't the most exciting part of this job. And I don't want to be spinning for this part because spinning it will just give me tool marks on here. Sanding marks on here. Because it's such a soft wood. Okay. And there. And work on the inside. And then I'm going to reverse it. Do a reverse action on there. So, I'm going to skip one of the grits. I'm going to go to a much finer grit here. Because this is so soft. We'll get this done. I'm trying to hurry for you, Mike. Yeah, that feels really good. I'm going to just quickly vacuum this out so I can get all the little dust particles out of it. Clear my area just a little bit. Yeah, when I vacuum, all those little craters show up again because all that stuff that was inside that filled in those little cracks, all that dust that from the sanding, and it comes out. So it shows all the divots again. There's not a whole lot you can do about that except sand, 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 and hope you get down to some base wood on there. But it doesn't always happen. You just can't do it sometimes. So we had sharp tools and we had good sanding techniques, and we still have all that rough in there. But just so you can see what it looks like, and this is just gonna soak this in, just so you know. I'm gonna put this in here. As fast as I put it on, it's just gonna. In fact, it looks like I just wrote my name with this. It just went right into the wood. Yeah. Well, I'll show you a little of the inside here. It is so dry. This wood is so dry that it just sucks everything up the second you put it in here. I may not even be able to use this tung oil. Might have to go to something else because it'll soak up a pint or more of this. But you're getting the general idea of what this will look like on the inside anyway. Okay. And of course, when it dries, it lightens up again. You're seeing what basically is kind of like wet wood in a sense. Okay, now I'll go back on the outside where you can probably visually see it a little bit better. Just really have to saturate this with the tung oil. And possibly I should have gone with some beeswax, but I really wanted to get something into the oil, into the wood. And again, I'm going to go back and resand this some more. So it's going to go into the wood. It's going to harden a little bit, and then I'm going to resand it down. So this is not by any means what the final finish is going to be on this piece. It's not even that fancy of a turn, to be honest with you, but it was more the experiment of can you turn really soft redwood and what's the best technique? And I think the best technique is using a glue-on. That seems to be the best technique for something like this. No. So I'll put this up here for you guys to see in just a minute. It was a challenge, different kind of challenge.
It's like two different kinds of wood.
It is kind of two different kinds of wood. No, this is just the exterior redwood and the interior redwood and the exterior sapwood together. That's all. So there's basically what it looks like. I guess I shouldn't say basically. It is what it looks like. It does have some really nice features to it right in here. Right in here. So once I get this final polished and sanded and everything, it is going to still have these little rough spots in here, you can see, but that's okay. It's part of what the wood is. There's not much you can do about that. Like I said, I can do some final sanding to get a little bit more of this ruggedness out of here. But there you go. So today we managed to do a redwood bowl, and we managed to do a discarded tabletop into a platter. So I think, guys, that was a pretty good Super Bowl Sunday, wasn't it? We got by with this. All right. Hey, two dudes, welcome in here. After a little conversation yesterday, glad to see you're still up and about. And did you get that? What was it? Was it a tortilla flattener you were making, or something like a tortilla press you were making? I think, and that looked pretty cool. I'd like to see how you make. I'm gonna have to go back and see how you make those. But so yeah, guys, check out Mike at the Whacking Shack. He's going to be going on live now, I think. Check out Two Dudes. Check out Johnny's Lathe. Check out Mike Wilson's channel. I think he put it up here earlier. So all these guys, they all have great channels. Make sure you check them out. And 77 Rockets. And we will see you guys soon. Enjoy the Super Bowl Sunday. I plan on enjoying it. By the way, if I could have just like one more like, I got 99 likes. It'd be nice to have 100. So if somebody out there could do one more double tap or one more like, I would really appreciate it to get to 100. It's just kind of the thing. We spent 2 hours making really nice bowls. By the way, this is starting to dry out, it's really taking on a golden color here. It's also warping just a little bit. That's kind of interesting. It's the wood, the water, the moisture that I got in here is starting to warp that wood already. I don't know if you can see it, but it goes up, down, up. These two areas are going up as this is going down. So I still got this on here. I may go back and return that a little bit, but just hydrating the wood caused that to happen. Interesting. I don't know if it's warping anywhere else. It doesn't look to be, but we're already warping the bottom just because we hydrated the wood some. And that's going to be a interesting little thing to do. All right, we got our 100, but I appreciate it, guys. Go over and check out Mike, and you all have a great Sunday. We'll talk to you soon.